It seems as if the only thing Bears fans want to know is when will they see Justin Fields play a regular season game for the Chicago Bears. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports Talk back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL here to talk about the Bears. So if you're a Bears fan, make sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below. Make sure you're following me on all my social media platforms. And guys, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I drop a new video because I do so very often. So let's get into it. All right, so as I mentioned, it seems like, yeah, that's the only thing Bears fans care about at this time right now. It's like, when are we going to see Justin Fields on the field at Soldier Field? You know, the jokes just write themselves, all right? Point being, I digress, okay? Justin Fields, when are we going to see him? When are we going to see him in the regular season? Is he going to start? And if he does start, is it going to start right away? Is he going to sit the entire season? Are we going to see him next season? So many questions, right? And I'm here to answer all that, okay? I have a perfect development plan for Justin Fields. So hopefully the Bears are listening. Probably not. But point is, I believe that there is a development plan that is perfectly positioning Justin Fields to be able to succeed. All right? So let me share that plan with you guys, okay? So here's the first thing, all right? Let's draw up the three scenarios. What are the only three scenarios at play here for the Bears with Justin Fields, right? Either he starts right away, week one, and he'll start the entire season. He's not going to get benched no matter how bad he plays, right? Or he sits the entire season. Maybe he comes in for like the last week like Patrick Mahomes did in his rookie season. But for the most part, he sits the entire season. Or the third option is he sits at the beginning and they bring him along midway through the season, halfway, later point, whatever. So those are the three scenarios, all right? That's it. So when we talk about a development plan, we're talking about those three scenarios, okay? So what is the best development plan for Justin Fields? Because here's the thing. I've given my thoughts about this before, and I've been kind of trying to revise them, and now I feel like I really know where I stand on this, okay? So let's talk about the first scenario, all right? The first scenario is starting him right away. This is only going to happen, and I'm totally okay with this, but it only is going to happen if Justin Fields absolutely outplays and just outperforms Andy Dalton in training camp and OTAs. All right? So, look, Andy Dalton isn't very good, so that might not be a very high bar, but it's true, right? Andy Dalton is penciled in as a starter. Matt Nagy said it multiple times. We know that they want to bring Justin Fields along slowly. So how can Justin Fields start right away if they've already made up their minds? Well, he can literally leave them no choice. And this is the big part here that I want you guys to pay attention to. This isn't, he slightly outplays Andy Dalton in training camp and OTAs. He's been marginally better. No, blows Andy Dalton out the water. Like it's not even close. Like it's night and day, the difference between Dalton and Fields. Not like when we had the competition, last season with Trubisky and Foles, and where it was like, they're both really close, but Trubisky won the job and then he gets benched. So, like, we're not trying to do that, right? So, if it is close, I'm telling you this right now, if it is close, I would start Andy Dalton. Because if Justin Fields, and again, you might be thinking, Faiz, you're putting a lot on the rookie, and I'm really not in a way, because I'll explain. If he can't be substantially better than Andy Dalton, then let him sit. And until he is substantially better than Andy Dalton, we'll start him. So if they're on the same level and Justin Fields is slightly better or, slightly whatever, sit him. He's not starting. So the only way he starts week one, he absolutely has to blow Andy Dalton out of the water. Like, just absolutely destroy him, okay? And Matt Nagy has to be like, I got no choice. I got to start this kid. He's unbelievable. Like when Russ Wilson and forced the Seahawks to start him when they signed Matt Flynn. You guys remember that? They paid Matt Flynn that fat contract, and then they drafted Russell Wilson that year, and then Russell Wilson in training camp literally just absolutely destroyed, and Pete Carroll's like, I got to start this kid. And then he's never had a losing season since. So that's the first scenario. Start him right away, only if it's not even close between him and Dalton. Otherwise, sit him. All right, so that actually kind of addressed scenario 1 and 2, which is, again, the only way he starts is if he completely destroys. Otherwise, he sits. And if he sits, then he's sitting the entire season, right? That's scenario number 2. So scenario number 3 is he comes in midway through the season, right? And this is where everybody's struggling. Okay, when does he come in, Faiz? Does he come in early, late, middle of the season? What? Okay, so I've looked at the schedule. I've talked about the schedule. I've laid it out for you guys, even give you guys my record prediction. The Bears schedule is brutal. It is awful. It is insanely difficult. Just a absolute gauntlet, okay? Top 3 in terms of opponent percentage, winning percentage, difficulties off the charts. So when I'm looking at the schedule, obviously I'm trying to look for a soft landing spot to put Fields in to where, you know, he can kind of get his legs under him and he's not playing these tough defenses. But it's like the entire schedule is tough. So where do you find that? So I've identified 2 spots in the schedule, and I'll share those with you guys, where I believe you can insert Fields there. And it's at the beginning and the end of the season, all right? Or I should say, or the end of the season, right? So essentially, the first couple of weeks of the season, we play at the Rams, okay? Then we play home against the Bengals, then at the Cleveland Browns, then you play the Detroit Lions at home. All right, those are the first 4 weeks of the season. What do I want to see if I am Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, and I'm taking a look at, okay, do we bring in Justin Fields? Number one, if the Bears are losing, obviously that's going to propel it, right? If Andy Dalton comes in and we beat the Rams, Bengals, Browns, Lions, Justin Fields hasn't seen the field. We know that. But there's most likely not going to be this scenario where the Bears beat all of these teams, right? These are very, very good teams. So the next thing you're looking at is, okay, can we protect this kid? And that's kind of where Andy Dalton is kind of being thrown to the wolves here, because we got to see how the line holds up, right? We upgraded the line. We drafted Tevin Jenkins. We drafted Larry Borum. We got rid of a couple of vets. So we have a brand new line, guys coming back from injuries. And we play 2 ferocious defensive lines, right? You play the Rams D-line with Aaron Donald and company and former Bear Leonard Floyd, who had a decent year last year. And then in week 3, you play the Browns monstrous D-line with Myles Garrett, okay? And then I think they have Jadeveon Clowney now. So those are 2 really good tests. So if our line can't hold up, then you're Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't want Justin Fields to get hurt, so we can't put him out there. But if your line is doing well and it's holding up, and let's say the Bears are struggling, then week 4 against the Lions could be a nice spot to put in Justin Fields, because you're playing against a bad Lions defense. Then you'll have the Raiders the week after, whose defense isn't very good. And then you've got a Packers team. Again, their defense is okay. I wouldn't say elite. So those are 3 teams right there where it's not like you're throwing him to the sharks, right? You're giving him a soft landing spot, if you will. And then obviously the schedule gets tough. You got the Bucks, 49ers, etc. So again, there's no very, very cushiony spot in the schedule. All right, you just got to figure it out. But against the Lions in week 4 could potentially be that spot, depending on how the offensive line holds up against 2 very good pass rushes. Okay, what's the other one? End of the season, okay? This is after the bye week, after we play the Ravens. The Bears have a stretch, right, where they play at the Lions, then they play the Cardinals, then they play the Packers in Green Bay, then you got Minnesota at home, then you got Seattle in Seattle, then you got the Giants at home, and then you close it out on the road against the Vikings. So those are 7 games right there, okay? And all 7 of those games, none of those defenses I would call elite. Right? It's the Packers defense again, which I wouldn't say elite. Seahawks defense isn't very good. Giants aren't very good. Vikings defense could be better than last year, certainly, but I wouldn't call them elite, right? So that's kind of where, okay, maybe you insert him against Detroit, and I believe that is week 10 is the bye, week 11 is the Ravens. I believe that would be week 12. Week 12 or 13 is when you can insert him, and then now he's got a stretch in the back half of the season to where, you know, he can go ahead and not face these gauntlet of teams. So those are the 2 landing spots, right? Depending on how the Bears do, And if Andy Dalton's just complete awful, like just god awful, which is very possible, you insert him in week 4 against the Lions, or you wait until the end of the season, week 12, week 13-ish, and you insert him against the Lions on the road then. All right. So that's what I would do if I was the Bears. That would be my development plan for Justin Fields. So let me just recap here for you guys. If he destroys Andy Dalton in training camp and OTAs, start him. If not, sit him all season long. If you want to bring him in at a spot where he's got a soft landing, like I mentioned against the Lions early on in week 4 or later on in week 12, and then see how the line holds up. Because the biggest thing, I don't care about Nagy, I don't care about pace, I care about Justin Fields and his health and his future. That's what matters. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below if you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching.